So a couple of months ago, a friend of mine bought a bunch of Apple computers dating from the 1980s and early to mid-90s. And after he bought them, he asked me if I wanted to split it with him. Well, I wasn't going to say no. So for the last 2 months, these old Apple systems have been sitting in my basement. And I've got some 14 Apple IIes, 12 of which are sitting right here. I've got some 2GSs, some LCs, a couple Mac desktops, a couple of Mac all-in-ones from the mid-1980s. I've got a bunch of printers and even more disk drives. And let's not even talk about the 10 or 12 Apple monitors that I haven't even begun to look at. But they've been sitting here for a couple months, so I figured now's the time I ought to start maybe going through them and just seeing what does and doesn't work. And I figure I'll start with the 2Es. So I'm going to do that. So this is my test bench. As you can see, this is a disassembled Apple IIe computer. The entire unit works. I have a functioning power supply, a functioning motherboard, and a functioning keyboard. One of the things that I bought a few months ago on eBay was this Apple IIe diagnostic card, and I'll bring it a little closer. So I bought this off of eBay for $30, and it was just the blank PCB, the 2 ROM chips, and the switch. And then I had to buy the TTL logic, the resistor pack, and all the capacitors separately, and then do my own soldering. And it's really quite a handy little card. It provides some basic IIe tests, certainly something better than what came with the Apple IIe originally. So all you do is just insert it in one of the blank slots, and then flip on your power supply. And if I switch over here, you can see what comes up on the screen. From the screen you can select any number of tests, so I can hit P to do a processor test, I can hit C to do a character test. If I press V, I get a video test. Ooh, there's a nice grid. That'll be good for checking for pin cushioning on that CRT. Looks like I got some issues. Oh well. There we go. Oh, and there's a speaker test. So here, see if the speaker works. Hit S. Sounds like the speaker works. All right, so there we have it, my test bench.
There's 12 machines for me to go through here, so I'm going to speed up the footage until there's something more interesting to see. Anyway, as I was performing these tests, one of the things that had me really confused was how the keyboard tests seemed to fail on most of the alpha keys. Eventually, I realized it's because the caps lock key needs to be engaged for them to be detected. This is a pretty common thing on a 2E, so it's worth bearing that in mind. Also, the 2E comes with its own built-in system tests. Now, I'm not using them here because I've got my own diagnostic card. But if you want to access those tests, you can get to them by pressing the Control, Open Apple, Reset keys at any time.
Alright, so this is an Apple IIe that I bought off of eBay. And one of the things that's interesting about it that I noticed right away is that you have these Velcro pieces right here and here, which is how the Apple II cases were designed. And when you see these, you know that you've got basically an Apple II case. And this is painted. In other words, it doesn't yellow. So what you're seeing here is the actual original color of this computer. Anyway, to this unit, it looks extremely clean inside. Again, I bought this off of eBay, so no doubt it's had a little bit of TLC, which is not surprising. Power supply is marked good. That's good. So we'll give it a quick test and just make sure it works.
Another thing to bear in mind when turning on a 2E, if there's a controller card installed, the 2E will expect to load a disk immediately. As a result, it's not going to provide a cursor or echo any of your keyboard input to the screen. If you want to interrupt that disk loading, you can do it by pressing Control Reset. So I mentioned previously that there's a regular 2E and an enhanced 2E. Unless you have a Platinum 2E with the gray keys and built-in keypad, it may not be obvious at first which you have. But there's 2 key tells. First, the caps lock light will often have the word Enhanced printed on it if the machine came from the factory this way. But some 2Es were upgraded after they were bought. In that case, you can tell if, when the system boots, you see a 2E, that's 2 forward slashes followed by a lowercase e, at the top of the screen, versus the older style, which was simply 2 square brackets back to back. Anyway, there were several advantages of upgrading to an enhanced 2E. For example, it provides compatibility with the 2C and 2 Plus software to varying degrees, as well as providing a text-based mode for GUI systems, known as mouse text. Apple quit selling the upgrade kits in the early 1990s, leaving the community to fend for themselves by burning their own EPROMs. Fortunately, enhanced 2E kits are available today from reactivemicro.com and are worth it for the more serious Apple IIe enthusiast.
All right. Holy cow, that's a mess. Oh my gosh. Look at that. I mean, I've seen filthier. But boy, that's a mess. I probably shouldn't even try to power that on. Oh my gosh. That thing is so filthy. I'm not even going to mess with that. We're just going to set that one aside. And come back to it another day. That's filthy. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. Take a look inside. Ooh, wow, that's pretty. My, that's pretty. For a unit that doesn't work, it sure looks nice. It's a little dirty, but I expected worse. All the same, I don't care if they say it doesn't work. I'm going to try it anyway. And sure enough, it doesn't work. So, I don't get a power light at all. So I am going to take a wild guess and bet the power supply may not be good. So let's see if we can pull this guy out. These connectors are kind of hard to get. There we go. And we'll try my, hang on, try my known good supply. Let's see what we got. Power. Ooh, look at that. Lights right up. Okay, so we know that that's a bad supply. So we'll put in bad PSU. Okay. And keyboard seems to generally work. Alright, so let's power that down. Yep. Other power supply. And where's my diagnostic? Here we go. Try it again. And speaker test. Beautiful. Alright. So bad power supply, but otherwise a fully functional unit. I think we can deal with that. There we go. Kind of in rough shape. It's missing the lens over the light. So what have we got in here? Looks like we've got a 80 column keyboard, 64K expansion, and that is all. It looks like at one point there may have been an I/O controller for a 5 1/4. 2E, copyright 82. We will plug this in and see what we got, huh? Make sure my power supply's off. Had that happen a few times. Oh, it wasn't off. Stinker. Okay. Rocker switch is reversed. Okay, so let's try this again. And garbage. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, so we have a garbage issue. I do have a cursor and prompt at the bottom. Turn that off and turn it on again. Still garbage, and it's still remembering. Maybe I need to give it more time. Probably. Huh. I've seen that before, and I don't remember exactly what causes it. How it remembers what was previously typed. Let's see if we can make the diagnostic work. There we go. Ooh. ROM at motherboard location I think that's D8 is bad. Well, so it looks like CD-ROM is bad on this motherboard. Alright then, now I know. Anyway, we are missing several keys on this unit. And we have an 80 column card. We have a Super Serial card. Ooh, goody. And we have a Grappler Plus, which is, if I'm right, a printer card. So that's what this is then. This must be a printer connection. So, let's see if this lights up. And she's on. I'm getting smarter. There we go. Plug this in. And power up. Oh, that doesn't look good. Okay, is this maybe a loosey-goosey connection? Okay. So that is a loosey-goosey connection. I don't know if I can show this well enough. Well, you know what? I can show it better on this one. So one of the things, something that has to be done to, I think, probably every single 2E. And not all connections are the same. But if you take a look at the composite video port here, come on, I'm using just an old iPhone with, oh, look at that, she got sharp. Okay, so these composite video connectors are just absolutely goofy. I mean, I can't imagine anything more cheap for a connection. So there's just this thin piece of metal that's soldered to the board, and it rotates real easy. And what happens over time, and it's not hard to understand, it's not hard to imagine that over time that very quickly fails. And so it's very common then to have bad video ports here just because of the way that goofy composite connector's designed. So the solution, and I'm going to have to do this to my tester here because it is my tester especially, the solution is simply to just lay a bead of solder on the inside of that ring there. Let me see if I can get that. Yeah, there's a ring right there. And you want to get a little bead of solder on the inside to just kind of lock it in place to keep it from rotating. Which you can kind of see me rotating it, wiggling back and forth there. I don't want to do that too much. But if you just get a bead of solder in that will take care of that problem pretty well. So we got that same issue in here as well. But yeah, absolutely nothing on the screen. And without taking the motherboard out and taking a look at that, I can't even begin to guess what the problem is. We could pull the cards and just see if that makes a difference, but that looks to me more like an actual video issue than it would be a chip or a ROM problem or anything like that. But I'll pull the cards here real quick. At least 80 column cards are generally pretty safe. We'll see if there's a difference. No difference. I'll pull the 80 column just for the heck of it. Maybe. Ooh, no, I'm not doing that. That is in there too tight, and that motherboard flexes too much. So we'll come back to that. I imagine that's probably not that difficult of a problem to solve, but it is not something I can solve here.
One of the things that helped make the IIe Apple's best-selling computer was its expandability. In fact, that's why the IIc disappeared a few years after it was introduced, and the IIe was given a new lease on life with the enhanced ROM upgrade. There was a substantial ecosystem of cards available for the IIe, and many of them still show up as fun collectibles on eBay and elsewhere. As I went through these systems, however, there weren't a lot of expansion cards in them. The most common find was, not surprisingly, the 80-column 64K memory expansion card, which still comes pretty cheap on eBay, though I did find a more rare RAMWorks expansion card made by Applied Engineering. I found a couple Grappler printer cards as well as a couple Super Serial cards. The Super Serial cards are still a useful way to transfer data between a IIe and a modern system using a USB to serial null modem cable and a piece of software called ADT Pro. Finally, I found a few DigiCard DNet cards, which were an early third-party networking technology that were popular with Apple computers and were also available for PCs. Evidence I've found suggests it remained a popular networking technology in school computer labs, at least, through the mid-1990s. Today, however, they're really not much use without a proprietary digiserver to connect them. But even without those valuable expansion cards, the IIe still has a lot going for it, and I think it makes a great 8-bit computer that's worth having.
Well, that worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Of the 12 systems I tested, only 4 are not really usable in their current state. One has a bad power supply, one has a bad ROM chip, one has some sort of wonky video issue, and the 4th was so disgustingly dirty, I didn't even want to try. But I'll be surprised if it doesn't work. That said, even if I do end up with a couple of dead systems, I won't feel so bad about it. I could use a donor system or two, I suppose. And that leads me to the other issues that I haven't dealt with. Namely, the keycaps and key stems, for example. They're not hard to source off of eBay, but when it comes to replacing a missing keycap on an old Apple IIe, when you're talking about a computer that was mass-produced for over a decade in multiple variations of beige and gray, good luck finding a key that's going to match the rest of the keys on that keyboard. Now, maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I'll find what I need and I'll be fine. Or maybe I'll get close, and maybe I can retrobrite the keys just a little bit to, even out the consistency. I don't really know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm just going to be stuck with some weird-looking keys. In any case, I'll figure it out. The other issue is things like the keycap caps lock lights. They're not hard to replace. But then there's the little issues like the missing lens over top of that caps lock light. And it didn't occur to me until, just now that that could be kind of tricky to sort out. But like I say, I'm sure I'll figure something out. In any case, I've got plenty of material for future videos, and, well, I'm looking forward to it.